Himbe combined with things like ephedrine and all these things that they were stacking at the time, and then you're taking pro hormones on top of it. The early 90s was wild.
How much stuff out there is fake?
If you look at Amazon, about 80% of them tested below label claim. About 60% of the population metabolizes caffeine poorly. When you remove the methyl group, you get 1,7-dimethylxanthine, which is paraxanthine, which has all the benefits and none of the side effects. Probiotics, you can run into monoculturing where you have too much of one probiotic and it ends up kind of limiting the variability that you need of many strains. I've patented about 40 unique ingredients. I've formulated about 1,200 products, helped sell 11 companies.
All right, Shawn Wells, you have probably the most knowledge that we've had on the podcast of supplements since you actually make and create and formulate them. It's kind of hard to, a lot of times you get to these people that might be excited about particular brands or products and they start things. And I have my own supplement company and I make products too, but I don't make them. Mm-hmm. You actually make them. How did you get into all this in the first place?
I think, my mom sold Shackley in the 70s, and it's a European company, and it was kind of maybe like an early MLM, if you will. And I remember her having the tackle box in the 70s with it was called Vita-Lee. It was like a whole food multivitamin, and she had vitamin C, which was popping off because of Linus Pauling at the time, and he did orthomolecular data on vitamin C, which up until that point, everyone thought 60 milligrams prevent scurvy. But he was looking at multiple gram doses to affect, cold and flu and energy. Mm-hmm. And so that really, honestly, vitamin C was probably the big thing that changed the supplement industry and really started setting it on its path. But I remember the little vitamin E soft gels and all that stuff. And she would give me these things when I was, feeling sick and or if I needed more energy. And I really started believing in the power of supplements fairly early on. And then I went to school undergrad for business, but I started working out. I was morbidly obese, actually, really overweight, a lot of trauma, bullying, things that I went through when I was young. But I ended up working out using creatine, which had just hit the market and massively transformed my body. I went to my doctor. He was shocked. This is in between my sophomore and junior year at business school, and he was just blown away. And I was telling him how much I believe in supplements, and I was reading Bill Phillips' supplement guide and, all the Dan Duchesne. And
we went down a similar path, it sounds like. Yeah, because I did keto and creatine and all that stuff too.
Oh, yeah. Yes, exactly. Yeah, keto with the, what was it? Dan's book, the Body Opus.
Body Opus, yeah.
Yep. So I ended up telling him about all this, and I thought he was going to just blow me off, medical doctor. This is early 90s. And he ended up drawing out this lifeline for me, between 20 and 80 and saying, why not be happy between here and here? And he really encouraged me to go pursue this passion as a job. And I remember there was ads for Muscle Tech in the magazines where I ended up meeting him and becoming friends with him, where this guy was the formulator in his lab coat, for Muscle Tech and, holding up a blue vial of something and, these bodybuilders in the lab, taking this stuff. And I was like, wow, you could do this as a job? You could be a formulator? So I went to some counselors to try and figure out I want to be a formulator. What would that look like? Well, it's good that you have this business background, but you're going to maybe need to work on nutrition, biochemistry, maybe be an RD. And so I did all those things. I became a dietitian, a biochemist. And then I started working clinically for about 10 years, but on the side working with companies in the supplement industry, going to the Arnold, the Olympia, working at supplement stores on the weekends just because I loved it and, giving out advice. And I was huge on bodybuilding.com, the forums, just helping out there. And I literally just kind of came up the hard way. And then eventually I got, paid positions. My first big job was at Dymatize as director of R&D there. Formulated hundreds of products for them there. and help them go to sale. And then I got picked up at this company, BioTrust, helped build it from 0 to about 200 million, and then sold it in about 4 years. And then I started working on my own with my own company, Zone Halo Formulations, to help other companies formulate products. And I have a team where we do everything. We literally do the regulatory work, the sourcing, packaging, innovation, the quality control, quality assurance, stability testing, adverse event reporting.
Insane the amount of stuff that goes into it. Yeah,
a lot. I do all the flavor work. I go to the flavor houses and work with them, and I've flavored like hundreds of even RTDs, ready to drink products.
You guys would be really surprised on how much like back and forth there is, even with something as simple as like artwork for a package.
Tons.
Stick pack, like, I want to make this in stick packs. I want to make it convenient. It's like, well, there's there's a specific machine that does that, Yep. So everything needs a specific machine, specific company. But it sounds like you guys kind of take all that guesswork out for people.
We do. And then I also am Chief Science Officer for N&B Nutrition, and we have hundreds of ingredients. We sell probably more than 35 branded ingredients. And then a lot of my other ingredients that I've come up with are also with other companies in the industry, like Nutriscience, Glanbia, Pronova, TSI distributes my paraxanthine called Infinity. So I have ingredients just all over the industry, and I patented about 40 unique ingredients, formulated about 1,200 products, helped sell 11 companies in the supplement space.
What are the 2 or 3 things that you created that you're most proud of?
Well, I have like these ingredients now that are really exciting and truly popping off, like paraxanthine, the metabolite of caffeine. It's branded as Infinity. About 60% of the population metabolizes caffeine poorly, that are slow metabolizers, essentially.
Don't get hardly any stimulation from caffeine, probably.
Exactly, but have mostly the side effects. So if you're actually a very fast metabolizer, you get very little benefit, but no side effects. If you're a slow metabolizer, you get very little benefit, but you get all the side effects.
That's my wife. She can drink coffee and go to bed, so she's a fast metabolizer.
Yeah, and then there's some Goldilocks zone somewhere in there where you're ideally metabolizing it, getting the effects, but getting very little side effects. So that would be kind of that Goldilocks zone somewhere in there. And maybe 15% of the population is in that zone. So I guess it's better to be the fast metabolizer and not getting all the side effects, but I'm a slow metabolizer where literally days later, I still have the caffeine in my system. Like, it's a huge variance. It's about a 7x variance from person to person, where someone may have a 1.5 hour half-life for caffeine. Another person may have 10.5 hours. huge difference. So I'm one of those people that has all the side effects. About 60% of us are, because we're actually poorly metabolizing it to the dimethylxanthines. So caffeine's a trimethylxanthine, and it gets demethylated. You remove a methyl group on either the 1, 3, the 7. And depending on where you remove it, it becomes theobromine, theophylline, or paraxanthine. And so when you remove the methyl group on the third position, you get 1,7-dimethylxanthine, which is paraxanthine, which has all the benefits and none of the side effects, truly. Like theophylline has tons of side effects. It's a bronchodilator. You get like the arrhythmia, the sleep disruption, the agitation, the brain fog, all the side effects, the increased heart rate, tachycardia. And paraxanthine, just as I went through on our other podcast, it has incredible nootropic neuroprotective effects that are not even close to the same as caffeine. So it increases BDNF and NGF neuroplasticity, increases nitric oxide via PDE9 inhibition and GMP to the brain, so more blood flow to the brain. Decreased oxidative stress and increased glutathione and catalase. increased dopamine dramatically, serotonin and acetylcholine, decreased beta amyloid plaque. So almost every way that I can think of that the brain ages, it's actually reversing.
You got me sold. I've never tried it before.
And
I'm
when
looking
you
forward to trying it out.
Well, and it's actually better at adenosine inhibition, which is the wakefulness component that you associate with caffeine. And again, without having nearly, really almost no side effects. I wouldn't take it maybe like you could have it, I'd say 4 hours prior to bedtime and still get great sleep. So you can have your nighttime workout and still get great sleep. That's what we hear all the time. We actually see improved HRVs, not worsened. If you were to take caffeine, at 8 o'clock and work out and try and go to bed at midnight or whatever your schedule is, you would see your HRV like tank, just like having alcohol. But we don't see that with paraxanthine. We actually see improved HRVs because it's healing the brain. When we looked at, we did a 10K race with athletes and we did a Stroop test, a multitasking test before and after the race. We saw a 10% decrease in mental errors post-race when they were fatigued with paraxanthine. With caffeine, we saw 23% increase in mental errors. And with control or placebo, we saw about a 4 to 7% increase in mental errors, which you would expect. That's just, you're a little bit more tired, a little bit more mental errors. But it shows that caffeine is more that frazzle of kind of CNS stimulation. You're kind of more frazzled, less focused. But with paraxanthine, it's the opposite. We're seeing it have a ability to protect the brain and actually put you more into flow state. So I like to say that it's a flow without the frazzle. And then we also saw in an e-gaming study that we did that there was a time effect with paraxanthine where when you took it before the e-gaming, you actually improved as time went on over the 2 hours of gaming. And then when we looked 0 to 6 weeks, they were improving over the 6 weeks as well. So the brain is actually healing and improving, whereas caffeine has a negative time effect. The more you use it, the worse its effects. And you have to take more and more and more, and you get less and less and less out of it. So this is where paraxanthine is really exciting, and it's just exploding. There's a drink update that has it. You can go to drinkupdate.com or at drinkupdate. It has 300 milligrams of it. And when is this releasing?
It'll probably be like 2-3 weeks, right?
Okay, then I can say this. Kim Kardashian just came on board for Update. She's going to be the chief branding officer.
Oh, awesome.
It's going into Walmart. I actually have equity in this, but it's exploded. And then there's another drink called Life Cider. That Life Cider X has paraxanthine as well. It's exploding, going into Walmart, going into Costco. There are many pro athletes, including maybe the most famous athlete in the world. I can't say his name, that's coming on board potentially. It's huge. It's taking off. But there's other pre-workouts that have it. My friend Chris Gethin, like Unmatched, has it in there. Euphoric with Muscle Tech has it in there. There's several brands. Mind F or FUCK, which is Mutant, I believe. Mm-hmm. There's a bunch of products that have it. You can if you like the pouches. Actually, the number one user of paraxanthine right now is actually this company Ultra, and they have like oral pouches that use the paraxanthine, and that hits like really instantly, like in like a minute. So, that one's been huge. And if you know my other ingredients that I did prior, I did T-cream and dynamine, which are in tons of pre-workouts, nootropics, fat burners, etc. So paraxanthine has kind of been my crowning achievement. Dileucine, which is a dipeptide of leucine. Leucine, you might know, BCA, EAA, muscle protein synthesis, trigger, all that good stuff. I looked at data around the PEPT1 transporter in the gut that preferentially takes up di and tripeptides and actually makes them go to plasma, your blood, faster than free amino acids. That seems counterintuitive that a 2 or 3 amino acid chain would be faster than a single, but this is true. And so I thought, well, what if we do dileucine? sure enough, it's 189% faster. You have 60% more muscle protein synthesis. We saw 159% increase in muscle protein synthesis over placebo, 60% more than leucine. And leucine, it's not a matter of taking more. There's like what we call a refractory effect. So it just kind of blunts at some point. It's really about how quickly it gets into plasma more than how much, like how quickly it spikes. And so this is in young adults, and we actually think the results would be more dramatic in people like our age because of what we call leucine resistance or anabolic resistance, that this is very powerful. Now stack it with HMB, and now you're inhibiting muscle protein breakdown, promoting muscle protein synthesis, and it is crazy the effects I'm getting. Like I'm putting on muscle, like it's crazy, like I'm a kid. Like really, it's wild. Especially like when I moved to taking it twice a day. I take it like after my morning workout, and then I take it before sleep. So these two have just, it's been selling out like for Muscle Tech, for Chris Gethin's Unmatched. There's a company, ABN, that has it. There's a bunch of companies right now that are selling dileucine, and it's just selling out for everyone. So that one's
leucine. Is the dileucine version? Is it any easier to flavor? Because I think leucine,
it's about the same.
Kind of like rough to figure out how to
it's a
flavor.
little bit. It has like that burnt tire kind of flavor. But we actually make a version of it that's kind of masked and more soluble as well, if needed. But yeah, it's about the same. It's not great, but it's not terrible. Mm-hmm. Certainly, I've had T-Crane and Dynamine that are just awful, like horrible. That really hammered the sales of that. Like even though it's a great ingredient, it makes it really tough in like flavored applications.
You must have tasted some really awful shit over the years.
God. Yeah, oh my God.
Because it's like it can be really difficult to flavor these things. Some things don't mix well. Some things aren't very water soluble.
Oh, man.
Some things clump, and some things smell gross.
Oh, dude, yeah. So butyrate, by the way, going back to we talked about this on the other podcast, the short chain fatty acid, the postbiotic. That one, oh my God.
A little bit like puke, probably.
That's it. That's it. That's the smell that comes from rancid butter or dairy, as well as vomit, that we identify with vomit.
Like,
and I remember,
call it vomit flavored on the
I remember
packaging.
opening the bag, and my wife at the time upstairs could smell it. Like it is, that's like when I say rough, it is rough. So like that's why we did the triglyceride form of it, triacylglycerol form of it, and we've coated it and all that good stuff. So
keep it like under wraps, kind of.
Yeah, it's wild, but that stuff is super powerful.
You know, I remember going to bodybuilding.com years ago and talking to a lot of the staff, and they would get stuff, sent there for free to sample and so forth. And I was shocked at how many people got like messed up, how many people like ended up in the ER. There's products over the years that I've tried where I was like, holy this thing's like just insanely powerful. I remember Ultimate Orange from Dan Duchesne. That thing was like, taking a nuclear bomb. And then there was also Redline, which I don't even know if that's still on the market, but man, that was intense.
Super intense. Yeah.
All these supplements are exciting, but sometimes they can be kind of dangerous. All the testing and all the different things that you've done. Have you sort of messed yourself up before a little bit?
Yeah. Oh yeah. I remember it like just
because you don't know the dosing, like you're creating the dosages.
Totally. I mean, and even like kind of early on, like using Syntrax. What was that product? They had this uncoupling protein product, UCP Syntrax. I'm trying to remember the name of it. But anyway, like it literally shut my liver down. I had to go to the hospital. God. And that product was meant to be canceled, and Derek Cornelius was the owner of Syntrax, and it was super shady. Like a lot of these companies, like you're mentioning, Jack Owak and VPX/Redline, like Gangsta Test, Monsta Test, like they had like the little syringes and pro hormones.
They were riding that line
and things. What is the name of that product?
Is it UCP mucopolysaccharide concentrate? Product by Cardiovascular Research?
No, it's Syntrax, and it's a UCP. it works on like uncoupling protein. I'm trying to remember the name of it, but if you look up Syntrax, it's Syntrax. Anyway,
shut down your liver.
Yeah, and then I use some things like from Anabolic Extreme AX. They had the Superdrol and Ferroplex. And that was probably the most potent pro-hormone stack. And same thing, my liver just absolutely shut down. Like it was the most potent, like methylated oral steroids that you could think of that were literally putting like 30 pounds in 3 months on people. Like it was just absurd.
They got these things off the market, right?
Oh yeah. Yeah. The pro hormones really aren't on the market anymore. There's SARMs that get overdosed that have a lot of side effects as well. What is the name of the product?
Is it Nectar
No.
or Matrix?
No, it's okay.
What about some of these companies too? I think they were legitimately putting Tren. I think in some there was a product years ago called Tren.
Yeah,
I think it was actually Tren.
I want to say, maybe you can look this up. High Tech Pharmaceuticals. I think they just got. Maybe the guy he got like some massive fine and maybe he's going to jail. I want to say Jared Wheat. But High Tech Pharmaceuticals, they're known for like having put a hit out on an FDA agent, like literally.
Jesus.
But they had like D-Ball, was the name of the product. And it had actual Diana Ball. They had Xanax spelled with a Z and it had real Xanax in it. And shit. They were just wild, unmitigated wildness. Yeah, 2-time convicted felon CEO and his dietary supplement company convicted of $4.7 million. Oh yeah, it was tax fraud. But what he's got, I don't even I don't want to get a hit put out on me. So, yeah. Anyway, it's wild. High Tech has done some wild stuff through the years. So yes.
Yeah, there's some gnarly supplements out there. And then sometimes you just have a weird reaction to something. I remember taking Yohimbine years ago.
Oh, Yohimbe is terrible for me.
And it just, made
blood
my whole
pressure,
body shaky and sweaty. And then for some reason you're like, well, maybe that was just maybe that was something else. So you try it again. You're like, and it just makes you feel sick.
I hate it. I get very sensitive to that. Blood pressure issues. I go hypertensive, high blood pressure and then hypo and it's the worst. Yohimbe so Yohimbe combined with things like ephedrine and high doses of caffeine and all these things that they were stacking at the time, and then you're taking pro hormones on top of it. The early 90s was wild.
I took a lot of ephedrine. Me and my friends, we'd go to the gas station. We'd get
mini thins.
We'd get mini thins, and then I remember we would put it in a blender with a Metrex shake.
Yeah.
I mean, it just got out of control. Caffeine. We would dump
ECA
everything.
Stack, diet fuel, rip fuel.
Yeah, we dumped all that in a blender and then drank it before we worked out. And we would be so tweaked that we could barely even train.
Yeah.
It's what are we doing now?
Yeah.
We got way off track. What the hell's going on here? So, some of these things, they can be dangerous, but I've always liked supplements, and I've always felt like it's a supplement. It can supplement your diet. And for me, I've always liked vitamins and minerals, but then also kind of drifted off a little bit too and got more into actual supplements, things like creatine. And look at how long creatine has been around for. I mean, Bill Phillips put that on the market probably in the early 90s, and it has skyrocketed. I started
taking it in 93.
Yeah, it's been around for a long time. Mm-hmm. And now there's more and more research. My daughter, she's 18, and she just started getting into lifting, and she's like, all my friends are taking creatine.
Yeah, I actually wrote one of the most authoritative chapters and papers for the ISSN on creatine about 15 years ago, and I took a lot of heat for mentioning some of the preclinical data towards the end of my chapter. I started getting into how it protects the brain and may help with traumatic brain injury, improves function of with eye health, reproductive health, bone health, may help with acute cognitive function. And I went into all this stuff, and I took so much heat from the scientific community over that. I have gotten attacked for all kinds of things because I tend to be more out on the kind of the edge. But when you're creating ingredients, like I really feel like I have some of my scientific brethren that they won't believe in something until it has 10, 15, 20, 30 studies. And like by that point, like we're way too late. Like, you know, my friends now believe in creatine and beta alanine and, you know, whatever. And it's like, cool. Those have been out for like 25 years and they have all these studies. That's great. I tend to be a little bit more quicker to the draw than that. And,
well, you have to be if you're going to be entrepreneurial about it. If you're going to try to capitalize on it, you can't be 20 years behind the research, you know?
Totally. And people ask me all the time with my ingredients, they're like, Pears, anything, how did someone not come out with that? I'm like, I don't know. Like I was the first to come out with it. And, you know, same with dileucine. How does it, like, I don't know. I mean, a lot of times, like, I also feel like people just don't have an eye for things. Like they just see something every day and they assume that's the way it is. That's the way we all walk through life. And I think my brain has now been trained to kind of look at things a little different. And, you know, I'll do something and to everyone it may seem obvious, but, you know, they didn't jump on it. But I also like where I'm really blessed is I do have like an incredible group of people around me to make these things come to life. In a way that there's people that could have ideas, but they don't have over 100 scientists, you know, in China and factories and tens of millions of dollars of, you know, testing equipment and hundreds of millions of dollars of factories and, you know, facilities. And, you know, I have people that help with my patent write-ups and study design and, you know, filings and all these things that it literally takes probably like $1 to $5 million and 2 to 5 years of just work per ingredient to get this stuff done. So, and in the case of something like with paraxanthine or dileucine, where I know it's going to be huge, I've had other ingredients. I know they're going to be good, but some, you know, they're just going to be huge. And those are the ones where we do like a lot of extra work before even mentioning anything. You know, it's bulletproof by the time it gets to market. And you're foregoing some potential revenue by just locking it all up and locking it down, like, because this industry can be tough.
How much stuff out there is fake?
This is a great question. So if you look at Amazon, Now Foods, great legacy brand. When I was working in all these supplement shops, like Now Foods was always my favorite. The quality was there. They've been around for, 40 years. And it's family owned.
Good prices usually.
Good prices, just the best quality, best prices. But they're losing to the Amazon companies that are listing things for like $8 and Amazon's Choice and all this stuff. And they're like, okay, we're going to test products on Amazon. The easiest way to test is single ingredient products. So they took 13 different ingredients, things like berberine, astaxanthin, maybe ginseng. I can't remember all of them.
Bunch of popular stuff.
Popular ingredients, single ingredient products. About 80% of them tested below label claim, and 20 to 30% had no active at all.
Wow.
And this is actually reinforced by some data that Supco, a new company that has an app to help kind of build supplement stacks and track them, they've seen this as well. And then creatine gummies is a train wreck on Amazon as well. They, like both Supco and another company, I think Consumer Reports, tested those, and those are almost all creatinine because of the moisture content. But with the products on Amazon, about 20% in another study have found to be counterfeit as well of the kind of good brand names. So like your Thorns, your Muscle Tex, your Designs for Health, Zymogen, like Pure Encapsulations, whatever. Like make sure if you're going on Amazon to buy from the correct party, like, you know, someone you trust, like a GNC or Vitamin Shop that would be selling on there, or a first party, you know, Designs for Health selling Designs for Health, and not buying from Joe's Crab Shack on Amazon, because it could be counterfeit, might not test out at all. Like, so if a product, a lot of these Amazon Choice products have fake reviews, are selling way below what it even costs to make the product. If it's proprietary blends, like watch out. I like full disclosure. And so you got to look at all this stuff and think that through when you're buying on Amazon. But I guess about 80% of the industry is not legit.
What are some of the best supplements out there? I know on other podcasts, we also talked a little bit about magnesium. Can you talk about, because there's a lot of different types of magnesium and they have different functions. Can you maybe explain like why people might need magnesium and then the different types they should be looking for?
So magnesium is important for over 200 chemical reactions in your body. And it's a cofactor in those reactions, meaning it's necessary to make these reactions happen. So think of like muscular contraction, magnesium's important, bowel movements, blood pressure, and vasodilation, blood glucose stabilization, brain function, relaxation. There's so many things that we see magnesium be important for, and this is why of all the ingredients I talk about, it's probably the one that trends almost viral every time I post on it. People know magnesium, and about 75 to 85% of the population is deficient in magnesium. We're not getting enough of it.
All right, Mark, you're getting leaner and leaner, but you always enjoy the food you're eating. So how you doing it?
I got a secret, man. It's called Good Life Protein.
Okay, tell me about that.
I've been doing some Good Life Protein. We've been talking on the show for a really long time of certified Piedmontese beef, and you can get that under the umbrella of Good Life Proteins, which also has chicken breast, chicken thighs, sausage, shrimp, scallops, all kinds of different fish, salmon, tilapia. The website has nearly any kind of meat that you can think of. Lamb is another one that comes to mind. And so I've been utilizing and kind of using some different strategy, kind of depending on the way that I'm eating. So if I'm doing a keto diet, I'll eat more fat, and that's where I might get the sausage, and I might get their 80-20 grass-fed, grass-finished ground beef. I might get bacon. And there's other days where I kind of do a little bit more bodybuilder style, where the fat is, might be like 40 grams or something like that. And then I'll have some of the leaner cuts of the certified Piedmontese beef.
This is one of the reasons why neither of us find it hard to stay in shape, because we're always enjoying the food we're eating. And protein, you talk about protein leverage all the time. It's satiating and helps you feel full.
I look forward to every meal. And I can surf and turf,
Yeah.
I could cook up some, chicken thighs or something like that and have some shrimp with it, or I could have some steak. I would say, the steak, it keeps going back and forth for me on my favorites. So it's hard for me to lock one down, but I really love the bavette steaks.
Yeah.
And then I also love the ribeyes as well.
You can't go wrong with the ribeyes. So guys, if you guys want to get your hands on some really good meat, you can head to goodlifeproteins.com and use code POWER for 20% off any purchases made on the website, or you can use code POWERPROJECT to get an extra 5% off if you subscribe and save to any meats that are a recurring purchase.
This is the best meat in the world.
Our soil is depleted. Calcium actually competes with it, and we're getting into a really huge, almost epidemic with calcium calcifying arteries. Like, we're getting too much calcium in supplements, and it's causing calcification if you don't get enough vitamin D3 and K2. So that's something that is really critical as well. Get your sunlight, take the supplement. That's really important as well. So magnesium, vitamin D3, I think are two critical things. As far as the salts, like the bioavailability is going to be the amino acid chelates, meaning the magnesium paired with an amino acid. So think glycine, think threonate, like with threonine. These are going to be better, and the organic Krebs cycle acids work well too, like magnesium citrate, magnesium malate, or something along those lines. The kind of inorganic ones like magnesium oxide or carbonate, these are really inferior forms, like have very poor bioavailability and tend to be the cheapest. So I tend to avoid magnesium chloride, oxide, carbonate, and go for the organic acids, or my favorite are actually the amino acid chelates. And so in particular, my two favorite for going to sleep, I like the magnesium glycinate, and it's also really the most price effective. It's very cheap to buy and it works. But probably the best one in terms of research is a branded one, Magtine, which is magnesium threonate. It does cross the blood-brain barrier the best and does seem to have a pretty nootropic benefit and seems to have some potential to be neuroprotective and even heal the brain on some level. So maybe that one's the most compelling, and I'd probably just take both, magnesium threonate potentially during the day and magnesium glycinate at night.
What about, you did mention D3, there's some people say to take it. Some people say, don't take it. Some people say, try to get it, naturally from the sun. And some people even believe that there's certain times a year that we shouldn't be getting it. What are your thoughts?
I think this is another one that the majority of the population, it's somewhere in the order of 80% of the population is deficient in vitamin D. It goes well beyond being a vitamin. It is part of the endocrine cascade. On the other podcast, we talked about circadian rhythm, and these cascades are like, our body is set up to have homeostasis where it stabilizes itself, and neurotransmitters and hormones and everything's like running in a concert. And when something's turned up, something else is turned down, and it's really a beautiful process. And vitamin D is a hormone. It is not just a standard cofactor or something that we call a vitamin like most of the other vitamins. It's really an important hormone and affects all the other hormones, and affects mood and depression, and affects like metabolism, blood glucose control, your immunity. We certainly saw a lot of that with COVID and flu. Vitamin D is just critical to a number of processes in the body and affecting all the other hormones. We see like when vitamin D is down, like testosterone tends to be down, and all these kinds of things. So vitamin D is part of your HRT, your hormone replacement therapy. It's really on a whole different level than vitamins. And I think it should be thought of that way. The D3 is the best form, potentially. There is a form that's kind of what I would say is gray. Like there are some kind of controlled prescription forms of vitamin D, but there is one that's kind of gray called calcifediol instead of cholecalciferol, which is D3. Calcifediol may have less issues with absorption. There is probably 20% of people that have issues with having vitamin D3 where they're not kind of optimized for it, similar to like the MTHFR situation with folate. So maybe look into that, calcifediol. But getting sunshine is important, especially if you have more melanin. If you're, black or tan-skinned individual, like you're going to need more sunshine, not less. And, the more you're wearing more clothing and not having as much skin surface available to sunlight, the more the chances are that you're going to be deficient in vitamin D. And obviously, if you're living kind of further north, they've shown that like the exposure to the sun is less potent. So like if you're living in like New York and Maine and Massachusetts and Washington State, that sunlight exposure is not the same as like if you're living in Florida or California.
Or Sacramento.
There you go.
Where it's cold and cloudy right now.
So that can be a factor as well. So I would say, especially if you're dark skinned, if you're living up north, if you're wearing lots of clothes, if you tend to be inside, especially in the winter, those kinds of things, like it is a big concern. You're not getting enough vitamin D, and it's far more than just like rickets and kind of having weak bone. Like I said, we're seeing D be associated with so many things, like it's immunity, it's your metabolism, it's all these things, it's mood regulation. So I think vitamin D is very important and can't be underestimated, and it should be taken with K2. So D3, K2, you see a lot together. Definitely do that. MK7 form is maybe the best form, maybe even most ideally. You could take MK4 with MK7. These are two different forms of K2 that are really effective and studied. So that would be the stack, I would say, and the things that you need to take above and beyond any multi. Any multi that you're going to take is probably a dry form of D, which is going to have very poor bioavailability. The liquid oil-based vitamin D is much, much better absorbed, especially when you have it with a fatty meal or some kind of fat source. I think that's really important to think about the bioavailability. And then the doses tend to be too low in a multivitamin of vitamin D. They tend to be around the 400 IUs or 1,000 IUs. We're seeing other countries recommend 2,000. I think 5,000 and maybe even 10,000 short term or through the winter is actually called for. It's ideal if you have this tracked by BLOODWORK, but I really feel like 5,000 is the ideal level. And then with magnesium, for sure you're not getting enough in a multi, because it takes a big dose. You need to take 2 to 4 capsules a day of just magnesium. So you're not getting that in a multi. You're getting like a very, very small amount. So even if you're taking a multi, take an additional oil-based D3K2 and take additional magnesium.
I know in Iceland they have, like at a lot of places that you go to, they have like these little shots of cod liver oil. And the cod liver oil has, a lot of vitamin D and some polyunsaturated fats and so forth.
Yep. And the rest of the, because it's liver, it has the rest of the fat-soluble vitamins. So it has A, D, E, and K. So that's actually great. Those
it's just a practice there. Everyone just takes it's like you go to like a restaurant and they'll have like a little, maybe like bar area where you're picking up your food or whatever. Mm-hmm. Or on the other types of restaurants where it's more of a seated environment, they have it like on the table.
Yeah, exactly.
You just see everyone take like a little mini shot of it.
It's great stuff. That's really like a superfood in my mind. Yeah.
Yeah. What are some of your thoughts about like organs and stuff like that? Organ powders and those. I
love it.
Things?
I think we've gotten away from eating nose to tail as they talk about. When we talk about carnivore or keto, most people are. Which I'm all for. Like I said, I did that for 20 years, and I love the effects I got from it. It was tremendous for me. It gave me like a lot of cognitive clarity. It gave me control over my metabolism, and then I went down the rabbit hole of cyclical and targeted keto and even the UDP 2.0, I think from Dan, like we were talking about. But with what were we just talking about?
You're eating muscle meat and stuff like that.
Yeah. So nose to tail. I think most people are eating just, as you're saying, the muscle meat, and they're not eating the skin, which has the collagen. They're not eating the organs, which has collagen, which has the other vitamins in it. So I do think we're, by and large, very deficient in collagen. We're getting very little, what would be, hair, skin, nails, bone, tendons, joints, whatever. We're not eating that kind of stuff, right? And that used to, if you're a true carnivore, like an animal, you would be eating all that. And certainly what we were eating years ago, we would have ate that. And then if you look at like, soul food, for example, right? They're eating like a lot of the stuff that would get thrown out, but they were eating like a lot of these organ meats and skin and connective tissue, and there's so much health benefits in that. And ironically, while the muscle meat is protein, and certainly that has lots of value, we were missing out, being the population at large, on having these organ meats and having the skin and having the bone broth and having marrow, and we're just missing out on so many nutrients now. And then, certainly the food that the animals are eating is, another thing that you could discuss as well, when they're eating like corn and soy and that are GMO and all this kind of stuff. So
makes it a processed food, basically.
I mean, 100 years ago, we were eating nose to tail without a doubt. And I think that's just gone away. And again, you're seeing the effects in particular with collagen. I think I would say that someone now needs to, if you're not going to eat nose to tail, needs to have 20 to 40 grams of collagen a day.
Mm. What are some supplements that you like to recommend to people?
The supplements.
You got like a top 3 or so that you really like to recommend for people that like to work out and things like that?
Let's see. The top 3, I would say, I mean, I don't want to go back to like my own ingredients, but they're the ones I use every day and the most effective. So I'll just throw this out again.
Yeah, of course.
But I would say, like, for the muscle stack, it's going to be the most effective things that I know of are the dileucine, the HMB, in particular, free acid, betaine, creatine, of course. I think GAA, which is a precursor to creatine, is really interesting, but make sure you're getting B12 and folic acid with it, in particular methylcobalamin and methylfolate, because it can potentially make your homocysteine rise if you take GAA and you don't take the folic acid and the methylcobalamin. So I think those would be great.
Betaine is interesting. Isn't that also
TMG?
TMG, right?
Yeah, exactly. So it's a great methylator. It, contributes to strength. Glycine in it actually contributes to going back to collagen synthesis, but also creatine synthesis. Glycine's also been shown to be relaxing, anti-aging. Glycine is actually really compelling. That would be something I do recommend at night, taking 3 to 5 grams of glycine. There's incredible data coming out on that. A really interesting one that I would recommend that I'm getting kind of new preclinical data on that's super compelling is lithium orotate. Lithium, you may think of schizophrenia and things like that, but that's literally anywhere from like 100 to 1,000 times the doses that would be in lithium orotate. And lithium, when they plotted on this graph all the minerals and how they relate to Alzheimer's and dementia and the aging of the brain, there was one mineral that was like dramatically on a different end of the graph from all the other minerals that were just towards the bottom with very little effect. And then there was one that was like the North Star on the other end of the graph, and it was lithium. And because our soil is depleted, maybe because we're not eating bone and all these things like that I was talking about before, we're just not getting enough lithium at all in the diet. Even our water is filtered, so we're not getting lithium in the water anymore. And this is so related to brain function, potentially healing the brain again and preventing Alzheimer's. I'm finding this data extremely compelling. So I think, and you're also seeing lithium like improve cognitive and emotional resilience. Like people are just more relaxed, more at ease, more able to stay out of kind of mental loops and be able to pivot in terms of things that come up with lithium orotate. So that one's a really good one. 5 milligrams at night would be something I'd recommend, along with your glycine would be amazing. And maybe take some collagen, and that's a great nighttime stack.
Glycine, by the way, for people that maybe don't know, if you get it like in a powder form, it kind of almost has like a sweetish taste to it. So you can probably add it to a drink or add it to a protein shake without it really altering the flavor and making it taste too gnarly.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. Yep. Yeah. It
Some
has
of
like
those
a
amino
light
acids
sweetness.
don't taste gross.
Yeah. Yeah.
What about like EAAs and stuff? Are you a fan of that? It sounds like the leucine.
The dileucine, yeah, I think a dileucine enriched, actually Muscle Tech just did a study on this, dileucine enriched EAAs. I do think that dileucine is probably the most powerful thing to take. I think, BCAAs, EAAs,
it's just maybe giving you some extra aminos.
I feel like it may matter if you're in like a really protein deficient space, if you're hypocaloric. But if you're someone that's hypercaloric and you're training and you're taking plenty of protein and you're, getting
That's a
plenty
good
of
point.
calories, I really don't think EAAs are that potent in terms of effect. But I think if you are cutting, then that's where like you might see more of an effect. And it does seem like the data is more compelling on EAAs over BCAAs. But I would say dileucine and HMB are probably more important. And then getting like a just post-workout protein shake to me is easier.
Do you remember when designer protein came out?
Yeah.
You know, we've been around long enough to know, to have seen like when whey protein kind of first hit the market. Is there anything like that you're seeing that is potentially coming down the pipeline? Like, is there another creatine? It sounds like the
GAA is actually really interesting.
That's the creatine.
That's the creatine precursor. And like I said, there was some concern because of the homocysteine pathway. If you don't take some methylfolate, methylcobalamin with it. But GAA, what's compelling about it is it seems like 1 gram really enhances the effect of the creatine and helps its uptake, in particular in places like the brain where it's passive transport. This is why we see like 20 to 30 grams be effective for cognitive function, whereas
of regular creatine,
it takes very large doses because it's passive transport, whereas it's active with transporters at the muscle. So you need very big doses. And there's been studies, like there was one study where the participants were underslept. They got 5 hours of sleep instead of 8 hours, which is probably your normal amount of sleep. And they showed the signs of it. They had the brain fog and like poor mental and physical performance. When they took the creatine, they functioned the same as the people that got 8 hours of sleep.
Wow.
So, but what we're seeing with GAA is it's kind of like supercharging the creatine where like, the 3 to 5 grams is acting like the 20 to 30 grams. So this is where it's really compelling and people are getting the kind of cognitive enhancement that they don't normally see from creatine or think about creatine for doing that when they take the GAA plus creatine. Yeah.
Where do you stand on all these like protein bars and snacks? I know someone that, you came from keto, so you probably saw the keto treats over the years, and some of the things can really, bother your gut. You got the allulose and the various things. You got Built Bars, Legendary Foods. You got Quest. You got all these, people making potato chips and donuts. And what are some of your thoughts on some of those products?
I have very mixed feelings on all that. Like, because
I think probably everybody does.
Yeah, because it's still like ultra processed food. Is it slightly healthier options than other options? Yes. Built Bar, they're delicious. I love those. Love the texture of them.
They did a great job. It's like a marshmallow.
But they're mostly collagen. And I think that's not very clear. And I find like a lot of these bars are using collagen as their protein source.
Protein up.
Which is a little disingenuous on my mind.
Because it's an incomplete protein, correct?
Yes. And not to say collagen isn't important. I do think it's important. But the reason you may be taking that bar is not to have better hair, skin, nails, joints, etc., bone. You're thinking muscle. I'm taking this for muscle. And so it's a disingenuous in that way. I would love, to have a whole body protein that has 25 grams of whey and, 10 to 20 grams of collagen and, some ingredients like dileucine in it. Like that would be like my ultimate kind of protein. It'd be an expensive protein, but like that would be a great protein. But I do see a lot of bars using collagen very disingenuously. Yeah.
Yeah. It makes it tough when you think about a lot of people are addicted to food. And so these are probably like better options. But they also might overeat those things because they taste delicious too.
And sugar alcohols just destroy your gut. Those are the worst. And a lot of these foods and bars are loaded with these things that just wreck you. And if something's giving you bad gas, like that is a sure sign that this is not something that's healthy for you.
It's not working great. We mentioned a little bit on the other podcast. We talked a little bit about gut health. What are some supplementation recommendations that you have for gut health? Maybe even some products you can direct people towards.
Yeah. So we mentioned collagen. Collagen helps with the gut lining. Glutamine helps with the epithelial cells of the gut lining. In particular, like when you think of leaky gut and the tight junctions and zonulin and all this kind of stuff that can cause like pretty severe issues in terms of digestion and GI distress. Then there's the idea of symbiotics, which is the idea of putting together pre, pro, and postbiotics. There's even like a class called psychobiotics, which are like the nootropic probiotics that affect like your brain function, which is a really interesting class. So there's a lot of work going into bacteria and like how they affect like the gut-brain axis. And a lot of your neurotransmitters are actually in your gut. A lot of your immunity is in your gut. So when we talk about regulating the gut, it can transform your physiology. You know, it's how you're absorbing and taking in these nutrients, and it's how you're also filtering out the things that shouldn't be in your body. These toxins in particular is the liver and the gut lining is how you're getting rid of some of these things. And if you have leaky gut, like some of these particles that can be very inflammatory are going right through the gut into the bloodstream and causing havoc, like typically like immunological havoc, like rheumatoid arthritis or Hashimoto's or autism, potentially, like a lot of things. So getting your gut straight can be profound. So prebiotic fibers like, FOS, GOS, inulin, these kinds of things are prebiotic. I believe that if your gut is dysbiotic, meaning more bad bacteria than good, it can actually feed the dysbiotic bacteria. So you want to make sure your gut's kind of in a healthy space before having prebiotics. And, even things like kefir and sauerkraut and these kinds of things are great as well for feeding the gut like that. Probiotics, I believe you need to, this is where like you can have a lot of probiotics may not test out because they're not stable. They may get destroyed by heat, light, moisture, unless they're the spore-based probiotics. You can run into monoculturing as well, where you have too much of one probiotic and it ends up kind of limiting the variability that you need of many strains for many uses in the body. And so I'm just reluctant to like overuse probiotics for this reason, because I think the body's intelligent in how to like create that variability and what's needed in the kind of milieu of the gut. So what I think is most important is providing that prebiotic so that the body can make enough probiotics, and then providing the postbiotic, which comes from the bacteria, which is these short chain fatty acids, which are critical for immune health and gut health. And this would be the short chain fatty acids are things like acetic acid, which is C2, like 2 carbons, propionic acid, which is C3, and then everyone's huge fans of butyrate. There's a lot of data coming out on this. This is C4. And then really the best form is this tributyrin, the triglyceride form of butyrate. So that would be one that I would definitely take, is tributyrin. Maybe a spore-based product like Bacillus subtilis, I'm a big fan of. And then probably my favorite prebiotic is not one of the short chain fibers, but it's what's called a phage, Phage, where it kind of breaks down bad bacteria and promotes good bacteria. So that's actually the ideal way to do this. And the patented ingredient is called Pre4 Pro. And so those would probably be like my ultimate stack together.
Your mother was leading the charge with supplements and showing you supplements from the time you were young. What are some things that supplements have helped you with over the years?
I transformed my body on them. I went from being morbidly obese to really thinning out and then becoming more of a bodybuilding, natural, natty physique as a bodybuilder.
Natty-ish with all those supplements running through your veins.
That's true. Fair, yeah. I just mean like I wasn't, it means like I don't look like I'm, jacked out of my mind. Like that's what I mean. But yes, that is fair. Like none of us are really natty. So I'll take that. But the creatine and protein and, at the time I was doing all the products from EAS and, it was Vanadil and glutamine and, all these different things.
HMB they came out with.
Yep.
It's as good as Deca.
Oh, God. It's a great ingredient, but that's ridiculous. Yeah. That definitely helps sell it though. Those are great ingredients and I really transformed my body and it was amazing. I remember at the time, there's no better feeling than like every time you go to the gym, you're like going up a set of dumbbells, it's like,
oh, it's very encouraging.
It's the best feeling in the world. It's a lot harder when, it's 20, 30 years later and
you see a little tricep and you're like, whoa, this is great. You're getting all fired up.
Yeah, exactly. It's a little bit different, but man, that especially with creatine, I was like, whoa, like I remember just like flexing in the mirror and like for the first time kind of being proud of my body. And, so that transformation was powerful. And then I ended up getting very sick actually, like around the time that a lot of this liver damage happened. I got very sick, with my immune system too. And I ended up getting Epstein-Barr, fibromyalgia, chronic fatigue syndrome. I couldn't get out of bed for about 6 months.
And a lot of pain, huh?
Tons of pain, like really horrible. I was literally crawling around in my house and just sleeping 23.5 hours a day. It was just the worst. And supplements helped me work my way out of that. I kind of switched over from all these bodybuilding ingredients to like really diving down into like immune function ingredients and how to make my body healthier. And that really kind of transformed a lot of my thought process around just aesthetics and performance to like, whoa, like anti-aging and immune health, like this stuff's important too. And then I started getting like a lot of my sports nutrition ideas from this other set, like, where they were talking about all these other ingredients for anti-aging and immune function. And I was seeing like, oh, these ingredients can have an effect on performance over here. And so that was helping me formulate kind of and do novel things because I was really outside of the box.
That's cool. I think that's a great story. You were heavy, you're overweight, you ended up with some illness and you're able to correct a lot of it. And then now, you were so enthusiastic about all that. Now you're creating these products that are helping millions of other people.
And I think that's awesome. I'm so blessed by God.
You get to make money off that. That's cool.
I'm living my dream. I love educating on this stuff. I take all of my supplements. Like if I sound passionate, it's not me selling this stuff. It's like I literally make the ingredients for myself first and foremost. I'm like, that would be cool. I want to take that. Like paraxanthine, T-creatine, and dynamine were because I have a terrible caffeine metabolism and it sucks for me. And every time I saw someone taking caffeine, I'm like, damn it. like I want to have that
Wish
feeling.
I could enjoy a cup of coffee.
Yeah, exactly. And so, now I have decaf coffee, but have paraxanthine or, it's great. Like these ingredients have really transformed my life.
Do you make a product like that has decaf coffee and the combination together?
There is one. It's called...
What's your favorite way to consume?
Rare Bird. It's called Rare Bird. There is a coffee that has paraxanthine. Yeah.
Yeah. What are some of your favorite ways to consume it?
Honestly, the oral pouch thing is pretty cool because it hits instantly. It's called buccal or sublingual absorption buccal, like, along the gums and sublingual under the tongue. Like it's really cool because it like hits in like 30 seconds, 60 seconds. And like, you can feel it. And even when you have the RTDs, the ready to drink beverages, maybe even with the ready to mix like pre-workouts, I feel like it hits a little faster than a capsule because there is some of that absorption happening when you're just drinking the liquid and it's in your mouth. And they've shown that data with like caffeinated gums and caffeinated drinks that there's like some different what's called PK and PD, like pharmacokinetics and pharmacodynamics of the caffeine hitting the plasma versus just taking a capsule.
Where can people find you?
At Shawn Wells, SHAWN on the socials, and then ShawnWells.com has like my newsletter if you want to work with me. A lot of the cool content, like all of my content is free. There's a lot of infographics. And, if you want to read my book, a best-selling book, The Energy Formula, I have the ebook, the Audible hardcover, softcover on Amazon. I have a course on my site, a video course. If you want to go to Mind Valley, I have the ultimate guide to supplements. If you want to learn more about supplements, how to stack them, all that good stuff. And just DM me if you have any questions, and I'd love to answer them.
Great. Thank you so much. Strength is never weakness. Weakness never strength. Catch you guys later. Bye.